Welcome to today's video. And right at the onset, I'd like to thank all my subscribers because the channel just hit 100 subscribers. So please be sure to hit like and subscribe to the channel. Your subscription does help the channel a lot. Anyway, today's video is going to be looking at the Seiko Alpinist, which is the watch that Seiko introduces in 1961. This is the second generation of that watch, which was introduced in 1964, the Seiko Champion 850. The first one was the the Seiko Laurel Alpinist. And the reason the Alpinist is such a significant watch has to do with the fact that it was the first sports watch that Seiko really introduces. Of course, it would later be succeeded after 1964 when Seiko stops making it with the Seiko Sports 5, otherwise in those days known as the Seiko Sportsmatic. This is from 1965 and this was from 1966, and you can see the iconic Seiko logo beginning to appear, but also has the same dauphine hands that the Alpinist has. So let's just talk a little bit more about the Alpinist. So 1961, it's really designed for the mountain men. In Japan, the Yama Otoko is Japanese for mountain men, and because Japan has a very mountainous landscape, mountaineering is very much part of Japanese culture. And the Alpinist was the watch that was really aimed at outdoor enthusiasts, and it was designed so that it could work outdoors and be a reliable timepiece. Of course, in the late 50s and the early 60s, timepieces weren't always very reliable, something we take for granted these days. But it was quite a big deal to have a reliable timepiece. So this is the second generation of the Alpinist. This is from 1964. I'm not going to talk about the Laurel Alpinist because it's a watch I actually don't have. But this one is called the Seiko Champion 850. The 850 is the movement it uses, and it has the same 17 jewel movement that the Laurel Alpinist used. So this is introduced really in 1963 because the Laurel Alpinist just lasted for 2 years, from 1961 to 1962. And it was really made to really set forth the Seiko Champion sub-brand, because the Alpinist was a very popular watch in Japan, and the Seiko Champion was one of the sub-brands that Seiko had in Japan. Of course, as you know, the Japanese market is very different from the international market, and it's only that in the 1960s that Seiko starts looking at international markets. I don't think you can really read it's just worn out, but if you could read it, what it essentially says is, I wonder if it's possible to read it. There is the very famous mountain logo that the Alpinists all have. Let me clean this up a bit. So yeah, you can now sort of see the mountain logo that every Alpinist has. This is from 1964. You can read there's waterproof down there, and the case style designation, which I believe is an 85899. Of course, these were, in these days, all watches, outdoor watches by Seiko did have that waterproof designation. The thing that's really beautiful about this watch is the fact that it was such an elegant watch. The one place where old Seikos had, and you can see that elegance continuing in the succeeding models. So that this is 1964, 1965, again the same dauphine hands, and 1966, exactly the same dauphine hands. But the Alpinist had loom on its hand. The later Seiko Sportsmatic 5 do not have loom, and in fact this is a great study in how the logo of Seiko evolves, because you can see that the Seiko Champion has the script logo, And then the Seiko Sportsmatic has now a script logo, but it's not a lot less stylized. And then by 1966, obviously, the iconic Seiko typeface starts appearing. But of course, the Sportsmatic, it's still keeping the script logo, typeface that it had. Now, the one thing that this Alpinist differs from a lot of the earlier generation was that it had a slightly traditional look. It's got gold-plated indices and gold-plated loomed hands. And in fact, if you flip around and you read the back, you can barely make out it says ECG. Yeah, actually, it's hard to make out. But well, take my word for it because it says ECG out here, which is well, sorry, I should actually correct my EGP, which is electro gold plated, and that was a fairly new technology for Seiko in those days because chrome plating and gold plating was these were not rolled gold. This is just electro plated. The dauphine style hands obviously end with 1964. You won't see dauphine hands after this still, and you don't really see the Alpinist name back till I think you get the red Alpinist in 1992 or 94, whenever, like in the 90s. So for almost 30 years, the Alpinist name just is retired till, and now it's a very, with the Sarbs, it is obviously a very powerful name, and Seiko will keep making it for a long time to come. But the other thing that makes this unique is the loom at the end of all the index markers. You can sort of see it if out here, and that again harkens back to this idea of this being a sport watch, even though it looks very traditional with its gold plating everywhere, the gold plated hands. But this is just such an elegant watch. I have it on a I don't have it on a Seiko strap. I think this is a Nomos strap, but that's just it's just a nice leather thing. Anyway, so that was my video for the Alpinist. I should do a video of the classic Seikos of the mid 60s. They just are so beautiful with their dauphine hands. So that will be another video. In the meantime, please be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit like, and I will see you on another video.